What's happening, guys and girls? Acrinator here, and welcome to the 13th episode of the Counting Pixelated Sheep podcast. I am joined by my partner in crime and co-host for this podcast, Sirjohnmac.
Hey!
And today we have 3 new articles for you, the order of which will be as follows. Six Flags opens new virtual reality roller coaster, man mods Doom into No Man's Sky, and gamers beat scientists and AI in protein folding game. So before we get into the first article, I'm just going to say a few things because this is the second time that we're recording this because OBS didn't want to fucking record John's audio, so I'm just sitting there talking and John's going... And then the second little thing is that you might notice the audio is a lot better from last time. I'm not using this microphone, I'm using my headset microphone. It's on my desk right now. I didn't want to put it around my neck because the, let me actually show you. It's duct taped, but like the hinge that allows it to do this is broken. So yeah, it's not pretty. It just sort of like snapped. I mean, this thing's like 2 years old or something like that, but I did not want to put it around my neck again. I had it last time and it sounded decent, but it sounded decent enough like this and it's more comfortable, so the audio is going to be like this as soon as I can get my... There we go. So yeah, that's why the audio kind of sounds like it's bouncing off of my desk. That's because it is. Anyways, let's get into the first article, which is the Six Flags virtual reality coaster. Now the first thing that came into my mind was that this was a terrible idea. Like, god-awful. Also, third little quick notice thing is that this episode is probably going to be relatively short. It was short before, and now we're going through it the second time, so it's probably going to be relatively short. There's not too much to talk about many of these things. I'll try not to ramble that much. Probably be like half an hour long or so. But anyways, back to the virtual reality coaster. Now, personally, I am not big on the virtual reality thing. Personally, I like augmented reality because I don't like how you have to sort of seclude yourself from the world when it comes to virtual reality. And on top of that, I like roller coasters. You know, I've gone on some of the larger coasters in the world, like mostly at Hershey Park. You know, like Storm Runner, Fahrenheit, Great Bear, stuff like that. So I do like my fair share of roller coasters, and I don't really like virtual reality, so to me that would just sort of be taken away from the coaster. Now, this is happening in Six Flags, I believe in California. Although the article also mentions Georgia, but I'm pretty sure this one is in California. I think they're talking about Georgia, possibly for another coaster that they're planning on doing virtual reality for. But basically this coaster has, I believe, about 2,000 some odd feet of track, and it's synced up so that you're viewing a game with Samsung, Samsung Gear virtual reality headset with like the Samsung Galaxy 7, which is not the exploding phones. That's the Note 7, I believe. That'd be kind of funny though if it did explode like mid-ride. Get the thrill of your life, the last thrill.
Yeah.
But it's synced up, and basically you just shoot gargoyles. It's similar to like those haunted house sort of rides where like you go in a really slow-moving car and it'll turn and you shoot lasers at it, except this you're using virtual reality headsets for some reason. What do you have to say about this, Sir John of the Mac?
There are even more problems than what initially meets the eye, and something else that meets the eye is a 60 Hz refresh rate, which is not very good for VR.
Oh,
I actually looked it up this time, yeah! That's the benefit of a second recording.
Yeah. Oh, the first time we were playing so much Devil's Advocate, and we're gonna mention all of that this time as well, because now we could probably take it a little bit further. This was probably one of the funnier things of this episode, is like, there's so many things that can go wrong. Like,
yep.
For one, you can get motion sickness. Like, what happens if the ride stops, but then the VR keeps going? You're just gonna be sitting there like, oh my god! The ride's gonna be stopped. You're just gonna be like stuck, halfway up the chain to the first hill. Everyone's gonna be like, damn, that looks awesome.
Yep. And I am picturing so many people just like not knowing that they can handle VR, because this is probably going to be a lot of people's first experiences with VR, and just like freaking out because they're getting real nauseous, and I can completely understand that. From the one roller coaster experience that I have, and just
you
like
went on a roller coaster.
Yes, the one that you made me.
Which
Boulder
one?
Dash.
Boulder Dash.
I still remember that.
Oh, it's like one of the oldest wooden roller coasters in existence, and it's so good.
And it feels like it.
It's
For my
actually-
memories.
It's actually pretty decent. I went on it a couple of years back, and they like renewed the track, so it's a lot smoother now. It also goes a lot faster because it's smoother. It's so much fun. That's such a good coaster. I still like the ones in Hershey Park better, but Boulder Dash is a really good like first roller coaster, or for you only roller coaster.
Yeah.
It just John sits in that like little tiny ladybug coaster, completely blank face. Are having fun? Yes.
Dude, those like roller coasters that they take to fairs, the ones that are like 20 feet long or whatever.
Those are like death traps, though.
Yeah, those are actually probably the ones that you really do want to worry about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can just imagine someone like completely getting nauseous, freaking out, and just like, I don't know how the helmet is secured, but that leaves either two possibilities. Either it's secured really well, and this person is going to be really angry at the end of it.
Immediate claustrophobia.
Gonna have a really messy VR headset.
Speaking of that, my brother-in-law has a Samsung Gear headset, and it has like foam attached to it. And I believe in one of the more recent co-optional podcasts, one of the live ones, they were at some gaming convention. They were talking about like how they didn't really want to do the VR stuff after like the general populace went in there, you know, because it's basically you're asking for pink eye. Is because they're all sweaty and whatnot, and you know the foam is basically a sweat sponge. So that's, you know, and you're already sweating when you're on a roller coaster. So I can't imagine like this, how disgusting it's going to be. Like they're going to need some serious sanitary measures.
Yeah. Plus the if someone like I said gets freaked out and it's not well secured, then there's going to be a whole pile of VR helmet on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's actually another thing, is that the Samsung VR, it's secured in a really weird way. Like, it has these two hinges that the phone is attached to, and I can imagine, like, if there's any sudden stops, the hinges might not be strong enough. The phone just goes, like, flying out, and you have a person stuck with, like, these really stupid-looking glasses with no lenses, like freaking, you know, those old diver helmet things, just sitting there like, what?
Yes.
And a phone just comes like at the very end of the ride, when like it, you know, comes to a dramatic stop, like the phone just comes flying and hits someone in the face that's waiting in line. Or better yet, someone like runs over and picks it up and steals it. And that's a whole other thing, like how is it secured to the ride? And like how is the phone secured to the headset? Because there's so many things that are stealable in this scenario. Like, and people are smart. You know, like there's so much that could go wrong, and we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet.
Yeah, people are really smart in their stupidity.
Yeah, and they're really evil too. Like, you have to imagine this is hooked up to some sort of network to make it more synchronous with the ride. You know, like when the person presses go on the ride, that it's, you know, sends a signal to some network, and then that, you know, times it perfectly so that the game starts at the same time that the ride does. That way, it's supposed to be synced up with the game and the ride, so that people don't get motion sick, because it's mirroring the movements of the coaster and the ride. But what happens if someone, like, how secure is this network going to be? You know, some hackers out there are really bored and really smart. So it turns into what isn't going to be played on that VR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else that we talked about in terms of devil's advocacy? I remember the hacking, I remember the sweat, I remember the stealing. Not to mention, like, this ride is going to be expensive as fuck for the park. Like, each of those costs, like, what, $170? Say they get it at a discount, that's like $50-$60 per thing. And you gotta imagine these have probably close to 20 people per ride.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a huge liability. Like, if this is not a limited time thing, it's going to be a really expensive long-term investment. Especially because, like, phones over time, it gets slower. You know, phones, laptops, even like desktop computers, although they get slower, a lot slower. So it's reasonable to say that over time the sink in the ride is going to lessen. That you're going to have all sorts of technical problems. You're going to have basically an IT department just for that ride. Basically standing there the entire time, making sure that nothing fucks up. Can you think of anything else we talked about the first time? Or anything else new this time?
I can't think of anything.
Alright then, let's move on to the second article, which was the guy that modded Doom into a No Man's Sky clone. And this was really funny, because what were some of his quotes? I don't have the websites up, and I don't really want to bring them up because that'll lag out the recording. If you can find them, John. It was basically asking No Man's Sky Hello Games to don't sue me.
Yeah, I hope Hello Games don't sue me, and I hope they get a laugh from it as I have, and don't sue me.
I think one thing that was significant to mention for this was that the guy himself had never, and has never, to my knowledge, yet played No Man's Sky. He got all this information from his friends who have played No Man's Sky, which is absolutely hilarious to me. This was reportedly a project that he was expecting to do in a couple of days, and he turned it into a 3-week project that turned into this huge hilarious thing.
Still wasn't as delayed as the actual No Man's Sky.
Oh my god, we'd still be waiting on that.
Yeah.
I don't even play No Man's Sky. I don't give a shit about that kind of game, but I know about it enough.
Yeah.
People still talk about it. They're still sour about it. Somewhat rightfully so. I mean, when you look at a lot of the interviews with the devs, will you be able to play with your friends? Yes. Yeah, okay, that's a lie. Shut up, phone. Anyways.
Yeah.
I remember he went into the detail of the algorithm. He was it's really basic. And then he went into it and it's this is not basic. Basically, he had every single level randomly generated down to the trees and the rocks and the level of the terrain, and then at a random level there would be a water signifier, and anything below that would be have water in it. So he would basically create this entire brand new world, all of which would be rendered by the time your ship flies up to it, and the color palette and everything, the aliens are randomly generated. I wonder if he showed for the aliens. I wonder if he did versions of the Doom creatures. Because he certainly could have. The assets are right there.
Yeah.
And it's not the Doom creator would have taken him down. That guy's, whoever created Doom loves mods. There's been plenty of mods over time, and we've never heard, at least I've never heard of anything being taken down by him.
I think it's kind of funny to mention that one of the parodies of No Man's Sky, No Mario Sky, was taken down, but not by Hello Games, by Nintendo.
Yeah, I don't think Hello Games would be able to take a parody down, because it's a parody. As long as they're not making money off of it, they can't really. I'm pretty sure that falls under copyright. But in Nintendo's case, that's using their assets, so it's a bit more gray area as to whether they can or can't, but it's Nintendo, so they're going to anyways.
Yeah.
Compared to, like I just said, the Doom creator, who is very accepting of mods. He realizes that sort of helps the game's longevity.
Yeah. Considering it came back in 93.
Yeah, and I think it was just this year or last year that Doom got into the Video Game Hall of Fame. That's 12 games are in that, and all of them are extremely influential. So having Doom in there is definitely a good sign. What else did we talk about with this? I don't remember. I think that was just about it.
Pretty much. Don't worry, the patches will make it fun.
Yeah.
When message reads as you quit the mod.
Yeah, yep. That's making fun of the No Man's Sky thing again. I don't know if the devs said that or if the commit. What the hell happened to your webcam? You just turned red.
Oh, I clicked some things on my screen. Stuff happened.
Like,
Yeah, this is the only source of light.
Like flashing red. It's like, oh my god, is he gonna be murdered? Anyways, yeah, I think that was all we had for this. Right, yeah. So let's move on to the last article, which was the gamers beat scientists and computers at a protein folding game. So with this is a lot more like biological, so I can actually have a bit more input on this than usual. But basically, a few years back, scientists created this game called Foldit, where you fold proteins and try to make these new compounds and see what they do, and you work with their properties. Except it's realistic, so that whatever you make, it theoretically should have whatever properties that you created, basically. And scientists can set parameters as to what they're looking for, what properties. And more recently, like back earlier this year, or possibly early last year, there was a breakthrough in Alzheimer's study where they discovered that there were plaques forming as sort of a onset to Alzheimer's, and that was a very big thing because they finally found a correlation to something towards the beginning of Alzheimer's instead of like towards the middle or the end, which is a very good step into learning how to prevent Alzheimer's. So what they did is they set a parameter in this Folded game to have people design proteins that were capable of preventing plaque formation, like this very specific kind of plaque. And, you know, like this happened, I remember they set up the challenge like in late June, I think, or early July, somewhere around there, and like a few months later, the gamers beat it. They created a protein that actually worked. And the thing why this is like such big news now is like this actually happened a few weeks ago that they created it, but since then scientists have been able to take a smaller sample in like a petri dish, and it actually works at a very small scale and in a very controlled environment, but it works nonetheless. And from there they can go into larger and larger scales until eventually, hopefully, it'll work with humans. So that could be huge for Alzheimer's research. And as I recall, there were like 470 gamers that logged on to this game to contribute to this specific build, and then there were about 61 undergraduate students who were in like neurobiology and microbiology that were working against the random gamers. And then there were also 2 or 3 actual scientists, crystallographers, which work with microscopic data points to create structures. So this is basically their job, and like 61 people that they want this to be their job. And then there were 2 AI, and then there was 1 computer program that was like not defined as an AI for some reason, that was supposed to figure it out, and the gamers figured it out first. So I think the lesson to take from all of this is large leaps in science can become much easier to come by if you gamify things. What the hell are you doing with your webcam?
Oh shoot, that affects it live?
Yeah.
Oh god. Okay. I stopped.
I mean, by all means, I'm just wondering.
Sorry, do go on.
This is what happens when I talk about science stuff. His brain just shuts off. That's pretty much all I had to say for now. Like, I wanted to see if you had any input. Like, I basically said, like, gamify, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah, and, this actually isn't the only instance of gamifying, like, research projects, that are out there. There are even ones that you can just do online. Like, I'm on a website right now where you can, like, analyze wildlife photos to identify animals in them. You can look at deep space photos to identify or like categorize galaxies. You can like transcribe old books and stuff like that. It's like really cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad stuff like this seems to be successful.
Yeah,
It's
usually these won't have like very large communities, but they'll have like smaller, really devoted communities, like EVE Online. I think is a really good example of a relatively large scale one of these. Like EVE has like tens of thousands of people, whereas this has like about 1,000 people, and that's usually about about the average. Kerbal Space Program is another big one. If you get the right mods with that, you can have a very, very accurate representation of space travel. We just talked about that last month, actually. The guy created this panel for Kerbal Space Program to make it more realistic, and you can actually learn a lot from this sort of thing. There's plenty of driving simulators, plenty of basically any simulator that you can think of that are very realistic.
Yeah, and it's such a great marriage of these like projects that take a lot of time to do in a moderate amount of intelligence, and the internet, which is just a like huge group of young people with way too much time on their hands.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like all I really have. I mean, we hit all the major points, I think. Like, pretty much, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Like, I certainly will be paying close attention to it, because this is like, my sort of thing. Not necessarily neurobiology, but usually biological discussion topics pique my interest at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, cool. Oh, God, you can identify fossils.
He's finding things that he wants to do now.
Oh, yes. This is awesome.
Alright. Have anything else to say for this article, or should we close it?
I think we can close it.
I'd say we hit a pretty decent time. It's right around 22 minutes. The outro will last a couple more minutes. The last one was like 27 minutes, so we're not that far off the mark, and honestly, we maybe forgot a few things, but overall we said pretty much everything, and this time we actually have audio. I have proof, because I have the little bar thing moving. I did a mini test beforehand. Oh, shut up.
Yeah. I've made that joke too many times that actually I jinxed it.
You haven't made that joke for a while now. Also, speaking of Sirjohnmac, his if you watch the Overwatch highlights YouTube channel, the most recent episode, which is episode 16, his Reinderp clip from Overwatch got into the episode. Not only that, but it is the theme for the thumbnail for the video. So, and he's really proud of that, as he should.
Yes.
It's like one of the funniest damn clips I've ever seen. Like, I've literally binge watched that shit like probably dozens of times now, and it's still funny. Especially his laugh is what makes it. Like,
yeah.
And little fun fact, he wasn't the one to submit it. Actually, I was, because I knew he wouldn't. Like, he's too self-conscious about that sort of thing. So I submitted it for him, and so damn happy it got picked. Like, I remember jumping up and, like, not jumping up, but, like, moving back in my seat, like, yes! And my roommate was, like, looking at me like, what the fuck? And I had to explain to him what the hell happened. It was funny, because I had shown him the clip after John had uploaded it, so he knew what it was, and he was like, huh. And I believe John put it on Reddit, so you might have seen it there. He did that. I'm not a part of it. Yeah. I don't go
Distance yourself now.
But yeah, that's one cool thing that happened recently. Have anything else you'd like to say? Any closing statements, John?
Nope. I'm gonna go identify some galaxies.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this podcast, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Links for my social media and whatnot are in the description below. Be sure to check out my partner in crime, Sirjohnmac's channel. He posts something every now and then, and it's usually pretty entertaining, whatever it is. That's all the time we've got for today, so until next time, don't die.